Hello again.
Hello again.
Did you go off? You've changed, I see. Like you.
I decided that I was cold, so maybe some of the Canberra weather, you've sent it my way, perhaps, Ian.
You're welcome. It's not like Melbourne has shit weather anyway.
Well, 4 seasons in a day, it's true. So
This is very true. So Ryan's going to be the first of the two talks. Is going to be talking about setting up their own company. Now, Coach is going to be the second. The reason why we put both is because I think there's a nice, interesting difference between Ryan, which is running Retrospect, has a number of people, it's working to build a product, all those kind of things. Versus Coach, who does very much, apologize if I get this wrong, the consulting and the supporting piece. Very much being on his own, but now hired his first person, I hear. So I think it's going to be really interesting hearing the difference between the two. So without further ado, I will hand over to Ryan.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Ian, and hello again, friends. Look, just hoping to have a bit of a casual chat, I guess, about some of my experiences of what it's been like starting my own little thing, trying to build a company and some of the stuff that I've kind of experienced doing that. Of course, just my own experience. Look, I think everyone that goes down this journey, we have a bunch of stuff in common, but of course, everyone's unique. Everyone's company is a little bit unique and everyone has a different experience. So take everything that I'm going to talk about over the next 20 minutes or so with a grain of salt. And of course, very much welcome questions and would love to have a chat at the end if we have enough time. Look, I guess just a little bit of background. So former ACSC ex-incident responder, spent quite a few years working at ASD/the ACSC, and that was my first gig out of uni. So I didn't have any other private sector kind of experience. I went straight into public service, got a job as a grad at ASD, rotated into the cybersecurity team there, the incident response team, before the ACSC even existed, for those of you who remember the good old CSOC days, and started working in cyber and just absolutely loved it and ended up staying in cyber. And I guess that's been 12 years now of working in cyber, so pretty cool. So not formally trained in cyber. I didn't study it at uni or anything. I just really enjoyed it and found, I guess, a bit of a passion for it, and accidentally have managed to fumble my way through over the past 12 years. But look, at the ACSC, that is where I met Jason Peng, the amazing Jason Peng, the very, very clever Jason Peng. And we worked in the IR team together. We went out and did a bunch of incident response operations together. And he then became my business partner. So he is the clever one. He came up with the idea of Retrospect Labs in 2019. He was out kind of testing the market and really getting a feel for things. And then he spent a fair few months trying to convince me to come and join him. And at the end of 2019/start of 2020, I was finally brave enough, jumped out and officially joined him as Retrospect Labs. So I guess that was probably the best thing that I gained from my time and experience at ASD/the ACSC. Of course, there was all of the amazing learning opportunities, all of the fabulous kind of people that I got to work with there, and the really privileged experience that I got going out and working on a bunch of different and really, really complicated, really, really high-end incident response ops. That was amazing. But obviously I got to meet Jason and now we're building a company together. Some days it feels like we're life partners, but we both do have our separate spouses, I promise. And yeah, we've been running Retrospect Labs together now for quite a few years. So as I said, Jason established the company in 2019 and was out there kind of proving things, testing things with the market, validating ideas and concepts. I joined towards the end of 2019, and at the very start of 2020, we hired our first two teammates, two developers actually, who started working straight away on building our product. Fast forward to 2024. At the moment, we're a team of 14 people, which is pretty cool. Pretty proud of that, I guess. It's no mean feat to grow something from nothing to a team of 14 or so. I say also because we've got an intern at the moment. We're also hiring at the moment, so that number's a little bit in flux, but I guess it gives you an idea of the size. And look, we've kind of steadily grown each year. So we've kind of hired a couple of people every year that we've been in operation. So that growth has been relatively constant, I guess, which is really, really nice. And it's a nice way to be able to hire people. Look, I guess the other thing to point out with us at the moment is just to highlight that unlike a lot of other startups, and look, I don't know when you become a startup, I don't know when you cease being a startup and just be a business or a small business or a company, but startup is the term, so I'll keep using it. Unlike a lot of other startups, we are fully bootstrapped. So what that means is we are completely reliant on the revenue that we generate to sustain the business, to grow the business, to grow the team, etc., etc. We have not raised any external capital. So a lot of startups will go out and go straight to the market, try and raise external capital through VC firms. A lot of startups will go to family and friends first, trying to get that initial kind of bucket of money to just get their idea up and off the ground, build a minimum viable product and get something out in the market and start testing it. We kind of skipped all of that phase. We haven't done that VC piece or that external market capital raising piece. And I guess what that means is that, it's really nice. Jason and I still have total control of the company as much as we can ever be in control of things. We have total control of the company and the buck kind of does stop with us. So we're not answerable to anyone else, just each other and to ourselves. So it feels very different for some other companies that I know who have gone down that VC route. Look, as I said at the start, definitely everyone's got their own journey. Everyone has a kind of, unique way of doing things in the way that suits them best based on their own unique circumstances. So not saying there's a right or wrong for how you want to do your own startup, but I guess not a lot of people talk about what happens if you don't do the VC route, if you don't raise external funds. So I feel like we're a little bit unique in the startup world in that regard. So it's just a different kind of approach to how we've done it. And I'll talk a little bit more about that over the next few slides as well. And look, just the other thing that you should know about us is we do have a mixture of both services and product. So as Ian said, we are building our own product, we're building our own platform. We have a dev team. About 50% of our resources are dedicated to the platform, to the product piece, and working really hard on building that product piece. And then the other 50%, give or take, of the company is focused on that services piece. So going out and delivering those revenue generating kind of engagements and services to our customers. Look, the caveat I'd add there is, I guess, we focus very, very specifically on what we do, which is cybersecurity exercises. So we don't offer a broad range of services, or we're not trying to do 1,000 different things. We're very, very narrow in that focus. We only do that one thing, exercises. And I guess that really enables us to have a nice fit between the services that we do and the product that we're building, because they go really nicely hand in hand. It also means that some of our services customers are able to transition over to becoming product customers, which is a really, really good outcome. Obviously, the goal is to be more of a product-centric company than a services-centric company. But services have been this amazing thing that have enabled us to go out there, build a brand, build a reputation, get some initial customers, get that initial traction in the market, and focus on product at the same time, and then still get those product customers as well. But I think all of that would be a lot harder if we were just focusing on product, if I'm being completely honest. It is a lot easier to kind of build, sell, deliver services than it is to do the product piece. So services have given us this really nice ability to generate that brand recognition in the market and to generate that interest in the product that then leads to those successful product sales. So I think we're a little bit unique in that sense as well. A lot of product or purely product-focused companies, it's perhaps a little bit harder for them to achieve those things because they've just got this one thing, and that can be a lot harder to sell. It's a lot longer, the procurement timeframes for someone that's buying a software or a tool. That services piece kind of has made it a little bit easier for us to do that. But as I'll talk about shortly, pros and benefits of doing both, I guess. Sometimes it might have been easier to perhaps focus on just one and not the other. But anyway, look, that's a little bit of a snapshot of the company so far. So been around since the very start of 2020, 14 or 15 people, and still looking to grow. No external funding, fully bootstrapped, fully reliant on generating our own revenue. And we offer both that services and that product piece in the market. Look, startup things, if you're thinking of starting your own company, you'll hear a lot of people talk about a lot of different stuff. Accelerator programs, look, pretty common for startups to think about doing an accelerator program. There are some in Australia, there's even more internationally. We did participate in the SciRise Accelerator program, RIP. Unfortunately, SciRise are no longer with us. We did that in 2020, and that was a really great experience. Look, I think if anything, it gave us, Jason and I, some kind of business acumen that we perhaps otherwise would have been lacking. As I said, I left uni and I jumped straight into a career as a public servant at ASD. I didn't know what a pipeline was. I didn't know about pitching. I didn't know all of this other stuff. So for me, that accelerator program wasn't so much about, selling to the market or getting our product in front of potential customers. There was a small element of that, and that was really valuable as well. But for me, the best thing that I took away from that accelerator program was kind of a 3-month crash course in how to run a business, how to talk the talk, how to think about things. And not that I did everything that SciRise said the way we should do it, but it was really valuable to get that background information and that background knowledge. It also gave me a fabulous network of other startups that I could talk to, troubleshoot problems with, or just get that little bit of guidance from, hey, we're not sure about this. What the heck is, this kind of contract that a customer sent us? How do we handle this negotiation? That kind of friendly environment where we're all facing similar challenges and similar problems was really, really useful to have access to that. And that was definitely one of the best things that I took away from doing an accelerator program. So if you are thinking of doing a startup, definitely accelerator programs have their place. They can be really useful. And as I said, I found it particularly useful for us. It didn't lead to us getting, 10 customers and, hundreds of thousands of dollars in sales. But I think that if a startup program or an accelerator program is offering that, that's like a red flag, right? I would be a bit cautious if that was their primary goal or their primary value add to you. I think there's a bunch of other stuff that they deliver that is really important and is really useful. And that sales piece is kind of a smaller part of it, at least for me, at least it was. The other thing you hear a lot of people talk about, and I mentioned it just before, is that external funding piece. Look, that can come from venture capitalist firms. So those large kind of, VC people, private equity, trying to make investments in your idea or your team or you as a person. Look, I'm the first to admit I don't have a ton of experience around that, but more than happy to talk to people offline about why we didn't go down that venture capitalist route, and to talk a little bit more about some of my experience in meeting and talking to VCs. I think it's one of the interesting areas of doing a startup because a lot of people who have done the VC thing, who have raised funds, it's kind of hard to get off that gravy train once you're on it. And it becomes the lifeline of your business. So you're kind of signing up to spending as much time with them and having them as invested in your business as you are. So it's just a little bit of a, interesting point of difference for us. We didn't go down that route. I don't have a ton of experience about it. But if you are thinking of starting your own company, definitely do your own research about VCs. Definitely think about how you're going to fund your startup and how you might do that externally. How long can you survive doing that on your own? All really interesting questions. And I think try and talk to as broad a range of people as you can about it, because everyone I've ever spoken to about it has given me mixed feedback and various views. So definitely have a think about it and definitely do very, very thorough research. Look, business plans, I think I just thought I'd throw this in there because I think it's a little bit hilarious. When you're starting your own business, everyone wants you to do a business plan. Everyone wants you to have a plan on paper of what you're going to do. Look, that's great. And I think it's important to have a sense of direction and a sense of strategy. But I think when you're starting your own business, you also need to be incredibly resilient and incredibly responsive to what happens, the market, what your customers are telling you. If Jason and I had sat down and done a business plan, which we kind of had a bit of a thought bubble strategy piece, I don't think we regularly referred to it. I don't think we regularly updated it. I think it's a little bit funny because I don't think it would be anything like what we achieved. And I think the unknown is a part of the excitement of starting your own business. Great to have some vision, great to have some goals. That business plan piece, I just think, hilarious when you're starting your own company that people want you to get something on paper, commit to it and go down that path. For us, at least, I don't think we could have been able to do something even vaguely relevant to how things ended up transpiring. But definitely something people talk a lot about. Look, starting your own company, it is really, really tough. And of course, I've thrown in the pyramid of pain here for a bit of fun, but I think it's actually really, really relevant. Look, some of the things that I find most difficult about running my own business is there really is just so much work to do. There's so much work in terms of talking to different customers, delivering different projects or different engagements for people, thinking about that product piece, how do we build a good product, managing all just the general back office stuff, all of that admin, contract review, tax, accounting, finance, legal stuff. You really have to upskill on a lot of this. And look, I'm so lucky because Jason really takes a huge chunk of that burden from me, and he does so much of that back office work. But it is such a big time-consuming thing for us. And I think it's something that all small companies really, really struggle with. It's the one thing that I really wish there was a few more, helpful government kind of resources out there that could just make all of our lives a little bit more easier, because it is really complex. You've got to think about, payroll tax. You've got to think about what state you employ people in, because payroll tax changes state by state, coming up to speed with all of this stuff, work cover, it just kind of never ends. And it is really, really difficult. So you're just trying to go out there and do your thing and be really successful at it and do the thing that you really care about and that you're really passionate about. And there's 3,000 other things here that are really critical and really important, like insurances, that if you don't have, you're putting yourself, your staff, your families at, huge risk if you don't get that stuff right. And that's something that we don't necessarily get taught a lot about. So that's the thing that I think is still really, really challenging. I guess when you get big enough, you perhaps have people to do all of that for you. But when you're small, and even for us being small-ish, starting to get a little bit big, we're still doing all of that in-house, right? So it is still a huge challenge. It'll be lovely when we do have, someone that just focuses on all of the finance or accounting stuff. But I think we're a little bit away from that. So a little bit, a bit of time to go before we get to that place. So for us, we're still running all of that stuff. And it is genuinely probably one of, if not the most difficult thing about running your own business. Other one is pretty obvious, but the ups and downs, it is a roller coaster, and it can be really hard to continually stay positive and stay kind of mentally fit for shouldering just the sheer amount of responsibility that we have as small business owners. You've got your staff to think about, you're responsible for them, their livelihoods kind of depend on you. You're out there trying to get more customers, you're trying to grow the business, you're trying to make sure that you can make ends meet. You've got all of these things that you're signing up for and trying to deliver. And it is genuinely really, really hard to be positive all the time, but you have to be. And I guess you're also a leader in your own company. So you have to have that ability to stay really positive and demonstrate that resilience to all of your staff, even when things get a little bit difficult. And I guess I'm really lucky because I think when I have a Mentee B day, Jason is there to pick me up. And when Jason's having a tough day, hopefully I'm there to pick him up as well. So I'm really fortunate to have that really excellent relationship and that kind of support as founders with Jason. I definitely wouldn't be able to get through it without someone like him to help me do that. One of the other things that's really tough is just growing the business, trying to get more customers, trying to grow the team. we get bigger and all of a sudden we've got this huge process gap because we now need to do things that we didn't have to do because we've got, so much work to juggle. That's been the biggest challenge for me this year. It's been a hectic 2024, and that's amazing. We've got so much fabulous work on, and we're doing all of these really exciting and big projects that have so much potential for us as a company. But my God, is it hard to manage. So we've had to build some really awesome Jira stuff. We've had to build a bunch of automation stuff just to help us kind of project manage and look at all of the tasks and all of the deliverables and stay on top of it. We didn't need to have all of that before. But it is just one of those difficult things, the more big you get, the more complex work you do, the more your team grows, the harder it really does become. Back in the early days, just me and Jason and then our first 2 hires, easy. So wonderful. It was so much simpler. Now we've got all of this added complexity, and it is genuinely hard. And the final thing I just flag as being, a constant challenge. And I don't mean to sound negative. This slide feels a bit negative, but I promise, it is overwhelmingly positive running your own business. But the other thing that's really hard is that context switching piece. And much like I talked about, before about doing 10,000 different things, the back office piece, thinking about things from a legal perspective, thinking about staffing from a HR perspective, jumping into customer meetings, all of this different stuff. So it's like you've got 10 versions of Ryan and you kind of never know which one you're going to get, but every meeting has a slightly different focus. Every email or chat has a slightly different focus. And honestly, just the mental load of carrying all of that and doing that constant context switching is really, really difficult. And I think it's a really good skill for people to have and to learn and to develop, is the ability to kind of do that context switching piece, jump from meeting to meeting, jump from customer call to internal meeting, focus on reading a report, focus on doing something else, and then doing some business admin stuff. No one day looks the same, which is amazing, but also one of the challenges. All right, so look, a bunch of stuff has worked so amazingly well for us. And again, we're really a very lucky, a very blessed company. As I said before, fantastic relationship with Jason. And I think, he is kind of the one that keeps me going. Ugh, getting a bit mushy here, but I feel so committed to him and to Retrospect Labs and what we're building that it just makes those hard days seem so much easier. So being able to talk to him about everything and having that really honest and open dialogue, he will just let me rant and rave and vent and have those mentee B days. And he's always got a really good solution. And I like to think that we're incredibly supportive of each other. I think we have a very strong and a little bit of a unique founder relationship. Oh, tear. But no, it's really made a huge difference for us, I think. And look, in a similar vein, we have a great team. So I do get to work with some amazing people. And that's kind of the benefit of being small and also getting to be really picky about who you hire. It just is so nice to work with good people you can implicitly trust, people that just go and get shit done. And you go, oh, this is exactly what we want. Or it's not exactly how I would have done it, but the customer still loved it. End of day, that's what matters. Great. It's really, really useful to have a great team. And I am incredibly proud and incredibly happy to be able to work with all of the people that we do work with. Look, it's been that kind of crazy, crazy ride, and I've enjoyed it so much. We've been so fortunate to have so many ups and so few downs. So we're very lucky on that roller coaster of emotions piece. We've been very much at that top level. And at the end of the day, you still have to have that, here's our ultimate goal. And I think that's something that Jason and I have kind of continued to do throughout our years in operation. We've always still headed in the same direction. We haven't deviated a lot. We haven't, fundamentally changed things. We've always been mostly heading the same way. There's some random stuff around the periphery that's changed a bit. There's some random stuff here, there, and there, maybe wasn't quite right or maybe didn't work out quite the way we intended. But on the whole, that's just the stuff that we learned from. And we've still been going into this really nice direction. So I think having that general kind of view of here's where we're heading has been really awesome. And that's helped keep us grounded, keeps us, coming back to this is what we're trying to do and this is what we're trying to achieve. What hasn't worked? And look, this is the more honest part, I guess. Look, hiring is bloody hard. We talk a lot about hiring in cyber, and that's hard. We've also got to hire for the development team, and that is equally as hard as hiring in cyber. It is difficult to find good people. It is difficult to find those superstars. I think the thing that makes it doubly hard for us is we're kind of constrained by that model of generating our own revenue to grow the business. Do we get more work first and then hire, which means we're super overloaded, we're kind of overloading the team and everyone's working a little bit too hard, but then we kind of, grow to the point where we're ready to hire, grow in that sales or that revenue piece, then we're ready to hire? Or do you hire and then hope to, get work coming in the pipeline soon? It's really, really difficult to balance that. And it's a constant kind of battle for Jason and myself to manage. Again, if we'd gone down that VC funding route, something that would be perhaps a little bit different for us, we'd probably have a bigger team. We'd probably have that team, fully funded through VC money. And we'd be a lot less reliant on the revenue that we're able to generate to hire and grow the team. Just a different approach to how we've done it. But certainly that hiring piece is hard. And look, we have made a few boo-boos. That's been the kind of the darkest days, is having to let a few people go just because they haven't fit with the team or they haven't had the right skills or knowledge fit for what we needed for the role. So that's definitely been the hardest thing. But look, that is always a hard thing, right? Hiring and managing people is a constant challenge. I think the other thing that's really hard, and look, I wouldn't change this, but the fact that we're doing both products and services, it does just add that extra layer of stress. It does just add that extra layer of complexity. I hope that it's going to be totally worth it one day. And, I'm really excited about both elements of our company, the product piece and the services piece. I wouldn't change it. I really love the way that we're doing it, but it is super challenging. And we've probably made our lives just that little bit harder by trying to do both. Having said that, if we didn't have that services piece, we would not be generating revenue, we would not be self-sufficient, we would not be profitable, and we would be fully reliant on external funding. So it would be a fundamentally different company, and my experience of running the company would be fundamentally different. Look, would I change anything? Absolutely not. It feels chaotic. It feels like there are 1,000 fires going on at any one time. It feels like there is so much, in front of us and so many challenges. But I absolutely bloody love that. I absolutely bloody love what we're achieving. I love the team that we're building and the people that I get to work with. And it's been the single most rewarding thing that I've ever done. And I really struggle to think about my life without Retrospect Labs. And I really struggle to think about what I would do post Retrospect Labs. I would find it very, very hard to go and work somewhere else or to work for someone now that I've had this experience. So Jason, I think I'm fully committed to you for the rest of my life. Please don't ever leave me. I need you as my founder life partner. And I think, this has been the most fantastic time. And I'm just so grateful to have had the opportunity, but also so grateful to be able to have had the success that we've had. And I think I've answered this question, but would I do it again? Of course. And look, this is probably my parting kind of comment, and aware that I have gone a little bit over time. Sorry, Ian and Shanna. Look, it has been the best thing that I've ever done. I would totally recommend it to anyone that was thinking of doing it. It is so utterly worth it. Just don't go in with your eyes closed or with blinkers on, some heavy shades on. It is bloody hard. And people talk a lot about how hard it is, but they don't really talk about how hard it is. Let me tell you, it is bloody hard. So it's freaking amazing, but bloody hard. Just try and reconcile that in your brain. Very confusing, I know. But honestly, it is so worthwhile. I think just do your research, be prepared for those challenges, and be prepared to fail. My mantra going into this, and very lucky to have a very supportive husband, and he said to me, what's the worst that happens? If the business folds in a year, 2 years, or 3 years, you can just go get another job, but think about all of the skills and knowledge and experiences you would have gained. And I think that's absolutely true. I've learned so much, I've gained so much knowledge, I've gained so many skills. I can't imagine where else I would get that experience or that knowledge if we hadn't built Retrospect Labs. I'm very fortunate that it is working out, touch wood. But if it hadn't, I would like to think I'd be able to take that knowledge and apply it to a future role somewhere else, somewhere awesome, and to do good work. So definitely encourage people that are thinking about jumping in and starting their own thing. Absolutely, give it a go. Just talk to a bunch of people first. And on that note, look, please feel free to reach out, connect with me on LinkedIn, shoot me a message on LinkedIn. If you are thinking about starting your own business and you just want to have a quick casual chat, I'm more than happy to grab a copy. I'm more than happy to jump on a Teams call and let you know how it's worked for me. As I said at the start, this is just my little experience. This is just my little unique way of how we did it. It is not to say that it is how it, has worked for everyone. And it is not to say that this is how it would look and feel or work for you. It's just how it's been for me. But more than happy to talk about that with people. So please get in touch. Otherwise, I think I have gone over time. So Ian, back to you.
Thank you. And you have, but that's okay. Two things. One, we've just tagged Jason and said you've now got a life partner. So secondly, if anyone sees Ryan and he puts himself down, can you make sure to thwack him with a bloody newspaper? He has a tendency to do that, and he doesn't realize how much of an amazing job he's actually done. So just please, everyone, everyone does a great job. I know imposter syndrome is definitely a thing, but like you yourself, Ryan, have done an amazing job in getting where they are. So,
well, you've got to be humble.
Yes, I know, but you also have to be accepting. So thank you very much, mate. And thank you again for running the competition. We will see you again tomorrow with Connor.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. I have been joined by the review board who decided to